So I made a video called Here's Why the Yankees Lost the World Series, and I got a ton of comments on it, and I really appreciate everybody's comments. You guys have been absolutely awesome. And one of the comments inspired me to make this video, which is going to be kind of a two-parter. Two parts in the sense that I wanted to not only talk about Aaron Judge in center field and why he shouldn't be there, but also I wanted to break down the type of analytics that you could be looking at in order to understand what makes baseball defense good, especially in the outfield, which is kind of a harder position to really judge, especially when it comes to basic like fielding percentages and errors and things like that, because a lot of outfielders never make errors because the plays are not as difficult as they are in the infield. And the comment in question is from Tim Ottman. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name. Why is so much of this rant on Judge playing center? Dude hasn't made an error all season long, so how is Boone to know that he would decide to blow it when he did? I don't think mixing up the outfield changes the trajectory of anything. Could actually make it worse. Though obviously, Judge never made an error during the regular season. Errors are a really, really bad way to judge an outfielder. Aaron Judge is not a good center fielder. He's not a natural center fielder. And we'll go over that statistically, and we'll go over that for what his strengths are as a corner outfielder, specifically a right fielder. But again, I just want to thank Tim for making that comment. This comment inspired this video, and I really do think it's a great topic. I appreciate anybody writing in the comments, even if you're going against what I said or you disagree with me. I love the discussion and I love replying to the comments. So thank you guys so much for all your support. And the first one that I want to talk about is ultimate zone rating. We're going to talk about DRS and UZR, which are both very similar statistics. And this is from MLB.com. The definition of UZR, which is ultimate zone rating, quantifies a player's entire defensive performance by attempting to measure how many runs a defender saved. It takes into account errors, range, outfield arm, and double play ability. It differs slightly from DRS in its formula, but the concept is the same. And DRS, which is defensive runs saved, has a very similar definition. DRS quantifies a player's entire defensive performance by attempting to measure how many runs a defender saved. It takes into account errors, range, outfield arm, and double play ability. It differs only slightly from UZR in its formula, but the concept is the same. They're very similar ratings. They're just slightly different. UZR kind of takes range more into account than defensive runs saved does. The range of an outfielder, or really the range of any player, is super important. It's one of those things that doesn't really get quantified when you look at things like errors or fielding percentage, because somebody could have a really big fielding percentage. They could field every single ball hit their way. They could be at 1,000 fielding percentage, but they never move. So what good does that do? They really only field the balls that are hit directly to them. And the last stat that I want to talk about is outs above average. Outs above average is the cumulative effect of all individual plays a fielder has been credited or debited with, making it a range-based metric of fielding skill that accounts for the number of plays made and the difficulty of them. For example, a fielder who catches a 25% out probability gets plus 0.75. One who fails to make the play gets minus 0.25. And now I'm not going to get into the formulas and what exactly the formulas are. You can go look that up yourself. These three stats really take into account the range of a fielder. The range of a fielder is what's most important, in my opinion, and in the opinion of most of the advanced stats. It's something that they didn't have the ability to calculate as I was growing up. A lot of these advanced stats and sabermetrics, not all of them existed back 20 years ago. So it's important to think about that when you're considering that, oh, this person makes a ton of errors, they're a bad fielder. But what if they just have a much bigger range than other fielders and they're able to get to balls that somebody like, say, Prince Fielder would never have the ability to do? I don't know if Prince Fielder is the right example for that. Maybe David Ortiz is a better example. But somebody like David Ortiz, Edgar Martinez, guys that had to become DHs because their fielding was so bad, they're not getting to as many plays as a guy like Anthony Rizzo in his prime, who was a very, very good defensive first baseman. So all of that takes us to 2024 and the defensive ratings of qualified center fielders in Major League Baseball. And the first thing I'm going to start out with is OAA, outs above average. Aaron Judge at the very bottom of the league among center fielders that qualified. He has a -5 outs above average. He's at the very bottom of the league among qualified center fielders. Judge was pretty much the worst in OAA. It's not even really close. JJ Bleday has -3 and nobody else is in the negatives. So Bleday and Judge, very bad center fielders. And Bleday is not a guy that you ever think of as a great defensive player. And Aaron Judge is worse than him at OAA. And then we go to UZR. As you can see, Brenton Doyle, undoubtedly, he just won a Gold Glove. He's got an 11.4 UZR. He is absolutely the best defensive center fielder. Then you go to the bottom of the list, JJ Bleday, -5.3. I mean, he has no business being in center field. But we all know Oakland's a shit show. Who could blame? There's nobody to blame there except for John Fisher. I made a video about that. You can go check that out. But number 4 in the league with a -0.2 UZR is Aaron Judge. He is the 4th worst center fielder in terms of ultimate zone rating. He's one of only 4 people in the negatives. That is pretty damn awful. He just doesn't have the range in center field because he's not very fast. He's a huge guy. Like, he's a monster of a human being. He just kind of lumbers around out there in center field. And that's not an insult on Aaron Judge, not by any stretch of the imagination. I'm not trying to insult the guy. He's just a big man. He's just a big dude. There's nothing wrong with that. He's just not very fast, and that's okay. But he doesn't really belong in center field. Another thing is, he's not naturally a center fielder. He's naturally a right fielder. That's what he came up playing. That's what he thought he was going to be playing when he came to the majors. He occasionally played center field here and there, but Judge is typically a right fielder. And one of the things that really determines whether or not somebody can play right field, in my opinion, maybe the most important stat for a right fielder is actually their arm. And look at this, among center fielders, Judge's arm is the 2nd best in the league. And guess who's number 1? JJ Bleday. Bleday is also not naturally a center fielder. You can see kind of the pattern. There's certain guys that just aren't really built for center field. It's a totally different position. They got to cover a lot more ground, and you don't necessarily need a cannon for an arm out there in center field. Only 9 guys have a positive arm rating. That's a little bit of a side note. That's a little bit of a preview about what we're going to talk about, because when you go to DRS, Judge has a -9 DRS. He is the 3rd worst among qualifiers in center field. It's just not his position. It's just not his thing. A -9 DRS, -0.2 UZR, and a -5 OAA. It's just not what Judge is built for. You need speed. You need range. You need somebody who's got good reaction times. And when you go to Judge's stats in right field, let's compare them to his stats in center field. DRS career in center field, -10. His career DRS in right field, 59. He is built to be a right fielder. His UZR, 32.6 in right field, -0.6 in center field. Outs above replacement, 17. Outs above replacement for center field, -3. He's really not supposed to be a center fielder. Judge's natural position is right field. Why do the Yankees have him in center field? Well, they didn't really have a natural center fielder this year. Unfortunately, they have one of the slowest outfields in the entire league, and none of them are particularly great defensive players. except for Judge if he was playing in the corner, specifically right field because that arm is so important. But this year, the Yankees outfield was Verdugo, Soto, and Judge. None of them are known for their defensive prowess. Everybody thinks Juan Soto is the horrible, horrible outfielder, which he kind of is. And Judge is a really great right fielder, but as we saw, a very mediocre to below average center fielder. But now Verdugo's gone, Soto might be gone, which would be horrible. But the dream outfield for the Yankees for this year, Judge in right, Soto in left. You're able to hide a lot of the flaws in Soto's defense while he's in left field. Judge is clearly a premier right fielder, but who do you put in center? And that's kind of their biggest issue because they're most likely going to be playing this guy, Jason Dominguez. Dominguez played a lot of center field in the minors. As you can see, he was primarily a center fielder and a little bit of a left fielder. The only issue is when it comes to his minor league stats, we don't have their advanced fielding stats. I'm not really sure why that's not in there. But when we talk about his advanced fielding stats in the majors, not great, not nearly as bad as Judge, but he also had way less of a sample size there. So his stats in center field are -3 DRS, -2.5 UZR, and -1 outs above average. Dominguez didn't get a lot of reps out there. He hasn't played a whole ton of innings as a center fielder or really in the outfield at all. Altogether over the past 2 seasons, 212 innings, both in left and center, only 107 in center field. The big issue for Dominguez is that he's not the greatest fielder. And I don't remember ever hearing any reports about him being a bad fielder in the minors, but he certainly hasn't shown anything special in the majors. And that is cause for concern. But Dominguez is very fast, and that speed should be enough to, at minimum, produce the same defensively as Aaron Judge was producing in center field. Hopefully, Dominguez's youth will hopefully allow him to be coachable, and hopefully he will learn from the coaching staff of the Yankees. They need to teach him how to field. They need to commit to him as the center fielder because Dominguez is supposed to be the future of the Yankees. In order to be the future of the Yankees, he's got to get a shot out there, man. He's got to get a chance to play. And the best position for him and his speed is going to be center field or maybe left field if he's really, really bad. But the problem then becomes if you put Dominguez in left field, you got to put Judge in center, you got to put Soto in right. And then we're stuck in the same exact position where the Yankees defense is not really as good as it could be or should be. The answer is either the Yankees commit to Dominguez and they stick with him and they coach him and teach him defense and force him to become a better defensive player, which is what the coaching staff is for, or they got to go out and find a center fielder out there in free agency while simultaneously signing Soto. And that's going to be a difficult prospect. But this was about Judge. I hope that cleared up some of the ideas of how to analyze statistics for defensive players, specifically defensive outfielders. And I hope you can understand why I'm always upset that Judge is in center field, because he just doesn't belong there, man. He's a right fielder. That's where he should be. If you enjoyed this video, please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. 98% of you guys are not subscribed to the channel, and I understand completely. It's a new channel and there hasn't been that many videos necessarily, but I've been trying to put out a video every single day about baseball, about basketball, about sports in general, because I love sports. But if you like this kind of content, please, please, please subscribe to the channel. I'm trying to reach 500 subscribers by the end of the year. Let's see if we can make that happen. I appreciate you guys watching. Thank you so much for your support. Have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day.